Now, they also offered an in-camera review of the report. So they invited Congress to come in and just read it behind closed doors, but you can't take a copy of it. You can't release any of this to the American people. It's our government. They're not transparent at all. There was a 7-month delay receiving emails from the Secret Service, and the Secret Service was asking for a reduced production scope. Like, we can't find all that stuff for you. That's too much. Basically, tell us all the times that you've been obstructed. Tell us all the times you've been delayed, in particular about January 6th. Why don't we know more about January 6th? Why are all these redacted and delayed? Homeland Security's in hot water. We've got some senators now sending demands over to them saying, why are you sending us materials that are redacted and buried? We want information about J13. We want information about J6. We want information about the Homeland Security corruption that we know exists, and we want answers. This came out from Chuck Grassley and Barry Loudermilk, 2 senators from the United States Senate. This letter went over to the Honorable Alejandro Mayorkas, and they have some serious concerns with Harris's and Biden's DHS. Now, we know that these agencies are filled with corruption, and they're often investigating themselves. They find that they did nothing wrong, always convenient. But these other entities called the OIG, Office of Inspector General, which is supposed to be a separate entity that does the investigation of the agency. And so the senators have sent a bunch of letters demanding an investigation, demanding responses. And what they're learning is Mayorkas and Homeland are restricting the ability to conduct work and to provide that information back to Congress. So while Homeland is enabling the trafficking of hundreds of thousands of missing kids, and Congress wants to know more about it, including how Trump got shot in the head via the Secret Service and other problems, they're redacting everything. Okay, we're writing about concerns about improper redactions. So when we get the reports, they're redacted. We understand was done at your request, Alejandro. Now, as members of Congress who value and expect transparency, we're very troubled by this. We got heavily redacted reports. The most recent instance was when Homeland failed to provide a fully unredacted report about J6. Why can't we know? They won't release the report, but they will give a heavily redacted version to Congress so that they can read it. Now, they also offered an in-camera review of the report. So they invited Congress to come in and just read it behind closed doors, but you can't take a copy of it. You can't release any of this to the American people. It's our government. They're not transparent at all. We had 8 hearings about January 6th. Why can't we read the report? Liz Cheney told us it was the most important thing of our lifetimes, like Pearl Harbor, bigger than Pearl Harbor, the greatest attack on our democracy since the Civil War. They forgot about Pearl Harbor and 9/11. And now we can't read it? It's ridiculous. Now, as a result of the alleged OIG access issues and hurdles, we're very concerned that Harris and Biden are extending these reviews to stop information about the assassination attempt on President Trump. Now, the department's secretary told us when we sent letters demanding this info from your agency that there must be appropriate safeguards, is what they said, on information that the OIG gives to Congress. They said that there were sensitivity reviews to prevent the public and the public release of information that could harm national security. You see that? They don't prohibit the release of sensitive information to congressional committees. So sorry, Chuck, you can't have this. Chuck says, yeah, okay. Well, these statements from the department and your redactions illustrate our concern. Your department is creating a chilling effect on information. Congress wants this, and you cannot impose improper restrictions. Simply put, if you don't have executive privilege, we're going to get this information. There's no category that we cannot receive. And so we also sent a letter that shed more light on this issue. There was a letter that said that there were continuous delays from the department that impacted our audits. These came from the OIG. The OIG said, when I'm investigating Homeland, we need information for our staff to do our jobs. Okay, so the Office of the Inspector General is coming back and kind of, it sounds like whining or complaining legitimately, actually, to the Senate, saying despite our continued reporting, we're trying to investigate Homeland, but they're not helping us. Their semi-annual reports document their access issues. The one exception, now these reports generally did not report access issues, but the one was about the Secret Service Protective Operation mission efforts. Now, the federal law says that we have access to these records, and so give them to us. The department's alleged conduct creates a chilling effect. In light of your conduct, here's what we want to know. We want this information. Here are examples of access challenges before I guess we get to a request here. But they tell us, all right, you've been difficult. We wanted information back from this era, April 1st to September 30th. Homeland significantly delayed the Inspector General's access to the department reports. There was a month-long period where the department delayed. There was no legal authority for them doing that. March of 2022, they wanted information about January 6th, saying the Secret Service was impeding their progress. No data. Same thing, April 1st to September 30th. They gave them access, but actually didn't. The department components were about ICE, so they wanted a bunch of information there. The OIG also wanted read-only access to databases, but those were delayed. So more databases delayed from Border Patrol, from FEMA, from the TSA, from ICE, from Homeland. No legal legal authority why they can't access the databases. Also, we're denied access to liaisons. And so the problem goes on and on. Now, the Office of the Inspector General has further reported that the Secret Service significantly delayed access to information needed for their reviews. There was a 7-month delay receiving emails from the Secret Service, and the Secret Service was asking for a reduced production scope. Like, we can't find all that stuff for you. That's too much. There was a clear interest from Congress to get the records, but it's clear from some of these issues that we just talked about that there is a need for improvements in cooperation and communication from Homeland, which is unfortunately a common trend. We've seen the seriousness of the consequences, such as what happened on J13 when Trump was almost killed. One innocent man was, 2 others injured. Yet the department's continued actions don't lend much credibility and in fact may cause harm. So OIGs are very important people. Give us this information, and so send it by this Friday. 1, written justifications for why you are redacting everything. Confirm in writing what you're doing to make sure that we can review all the assassination attempt documents. Confirm in writing that you're going to instruct the OIG not to disclose any information to Congress. You will not instruct them to not disclose any information that we need, and thank you in advance for your cooperation. So even the Office of the Inspector General within the own agency is having a difficult time getting access to these materials, and you can understand why, because there's a cover-up afoot. Now, they also sent this letter to the Inspector General himself, so the Honorable Joseph Kufari. They said, hey, look, we're seeking information about this. As members of Congress, we expect transparency. On August, a letter from your office shed more light on this. It said that there were a ton of delays. Your letter noted that the information here was being precluded and preventing you from doing your job. Now, we know that they're significantly delaying access to information. What are they asking this guy for? Please let us know what you've asked for. All right, so the actual Inspector General, they're saying, why don't you tell us what you asked for from them so we can see how these match up? I want to know what you sent over from January to the present, indicating that Secret Service was not going to comply with your requests, all written communications, a timeline of each step. Basically, tell us all the times that you've been obstructed. Tell us all the times you've been delayed, in particular about January 6th. Why don't we know more about January 6th? Why are all these redacted and delayed? All written requests about more, and including on J13. If Homeland feels that they're unable to provide any of this stuff to us, let us know why they say they can't give it to you. Thank you for your cooperation. Sincerely, your friend, Chuck Grassley, Barry Loudermilk, both from the Committee on the Budget, one from the Budget, one from Administration and Oversight. So it's just the least transparent government that we have, and they are protecting their institutions because their institutions are tools of the Democratic Party. And if you open up the box and you get to poke inside and see what they're actually doing, you'll see it nakedly on display, and they don't want you to see it, which is why the cover-up continues.